This is Emmett Burkowski, the star of the LEGO Movie, which, as it turns out, just turned 10 years old. Unfortunately, LEGO has not acknowledged this momentous occasion at all, save for a few social media posts. So I figured I'd take this problem into my own hands and build the missing LEGO Movie set. But before that, I figured that the best way to make this would be to study the ones made by LEGO themselves. So I went to Bricklink and ordered a ton of different LEGO Movie sets and minifigures. And this is all for research purposes, of course. First up, I got this polybag of Emmett in his pajamas, and if you've seen the movie, you know this is how we first see him as he goes through his morning routine. Unfortunately, LEGO never actually made a set of Emmett's apartment. In fact, aside from a few vehicles, they didn't make any sets based off of Bricksburg, despite the fact that it was one of the main locations in the movie, so I decided to base my set off of the city of Bricksburg. What this means is that I'm going to have to be very particular about how I design this set, because Bricksburg is such a big city that I couldn't possibly fit every single detail, and I want to include lots of references and allow you to recreate all of the most important moments that happen here, while still maintaining the general look and feel of the city. Which brings us back to Emmett in his striped blue PJs. Like I mentioned before, his apartment has not been made into a set, so I'm going to represent it in the residential area of Bricksburg. When designing it, I made sure to include the major details from the movie, but I had to scale it down quite a bit. Now, the first floor isn't quite finished yet, but the second and third floors are, so let's take a look at those right now. Starting off with Emmett's bedroom, I made a slightly scaled down version of his bed and the shelf of instructions, as well as a small build for Planty, and I also included the balcony where Emmett steps out and says, "Good morning, city." Then, on the third floor, I made a small chair based off of the double-decker couch and a TV where Emmett can watch Where Are My Pants. After Emmett woke up and got ready, he went and ran some errands. As he left his apartment, he greeted a few of his neighbors and then got into his car. Then he dropped off his laundry, cheered for his local sports team, returned a compliment, and got a cup of overpriced coffee. To recreate these scenes, I began by making the coffee shop on the ground floor. It has some signs out front, above the door, and on the windows, and on the inside is a small seating area and a place where you can order. And then behind that are some miscellaneous coffee-related items and some cabinets. Above the coffee shop is the laundromat, with a bunch of machines stacked on top of each other, assorted cleaning products, and a rack of clothes hung up, as well as several windows and a tiled-off floor. Finally, on the top floor of the building, I made a small apartment for Emmett's neighbor, Miss Scratch and Post, with pink walls, a bedroom with a purple bed and a framed picture, and a cat tree, which is of course populated with several cats and kittens. Next, he went to work at the construction site, and although in the movie the construction site is a pretty big location, for the purposes of this set, I decided to represent it with a small little section on the side of his apartment. It has a small fence and some dirt, but the most important part is this little opening right here, meant to represent the place where Emmett loses his instructions and follows Wildstyle into the cave, eventually finding the piece of resistance. To make this area, I simply built up a bunch of rocky detailing and added some spikes to represent stalagmites and stalactites, then of course the piece of resistance surrounded by a bunch of clear pieces that are meant to represent a glob of super glue. After finding the piece of resistance, Emmett is captured by Bad Cop and almost killed, but just in the nick of time, he's saved by Wildstyle, which brings me to the next set that I got, and this one is quite special to me as it is the first set that I remember begging my parents to get me for Christmas. I was only like 7 years old at the time, so this was bigger than any set I'd ever had before, so when Christmas finally came and I did end up getting the set, it became one of my favorite sets immediately, and it stayed that way ever since. Anyway, all that is to say, I really like this set, and since the vehicle plays a pivotal role in the escape from Bricksburg, I thought it'd be cool to include a smaller version of it in my set, similar to what Star Wars has been doing recently with things like the X-Wing and the TIE Fighter. The scaled down version of the bike can only fit one minifigure, but for the purposes of this set, I think that's fine. And in addition to the bike, I also wanted to add some of the locations shown in the chase scene, and I decided to make this small city square area with some octane signs and a large yellow brick in the middle. This area is most prominently shown in some of the opening scenes, but it's also slightly visible during the chase. So here's how this area turned out, scaled down but still pretty recognizable. After escaping on the bike, Emmett and Wildstyle travel to the Wild West where they meet Vitruvius. However, they are followed by Bad Cop and a ton of Lord Business's robot minions, and I'll go ahead and add some of them to my set, but if you didn't already know, they're after the piece of resistance on Emmett's back because it's the only thing that can stop the Kraggle, a weapon that President Business took at the beginning of the movie which could destroy the world. Bad Cop and the super secret police managed to chase our heroes out of the Wild West and almost capture them. However, in the nick of time, they are saved by Batman, who brings them to Cloud Cuckoo Land. For this location, I got the official set of it, which includes a figure of Unikitty, the next member to join the crew, and then I also added a few other figures of the master builders who were featured in the movie, with my favorite one being Shaq. I had to make some new designs for him since, as far as I know, this figure doesn't actually exist, but it was definitely worth it, as I think this looks just like him, especially the one in the movie. Also, real quick plug, I know a few of you have already seen this figure if you follow me on Instagram, which you should go do if you don't already. Anyway, just when things are looking up for Emmett, the bad guys show up once again, led to Cloud Cuckoo Land by a tracker on Emmett's foot. To recreate this scene, I got a set that I've wanted for nearly a decade, the super secret police dropship. As a kid, I always thought of this set as a cooler version of the Republic gunship, and with a build this intricate, awesome play features, and an absolutely stacked minifigure selection, it really isn't hard to see why. Anyway, the bad guys invade Cloud Cuckoo Land and capture most of the Master Builders. However, Emmett and his friends do manage to escape, and they also end up meeting Benny, the next Master Builder to join the group. So I grabbed a figure of him that I kept from 2014, and also added a figure of him to the set. The 6 of them proceeded to create an amalgamation of different building techniques that eventually becomes a submarine, and they manage to evade the police, but eventually the submarine explodes and they're stranded at sea in the double-decker couch. Luckily, this doesn't last long because the final member of the group comes in to save them, Metalbeard. Although the sea cow was a little out of my price range, I did still want to have a Metalbeard for this video, so I bought a used set of Metalbeard versus the Micromanager, and for now we'll just use Metalbeard. And then I also wanted to include him in the Bricksburg set, but a to scale version of him would be way too big, so I ended up taking the one from the sea cow and making a few modifications. Anyway, Metalbeard informs the group about the security measures in Octan Tower, which is where Lord Business keeps the Craggle. The Master Builders can't manage to think of a good plan to break in, but luckily Emmett does. He devises a plan for them to break into the tower, stop the Craggle, and save the world, and if all goes well, they'll be in and out without they all get captured. And as unfortunate as that is, it does give me an opportunity to open up this next set, Lord Business's Evil Lair. It includes a conference room, the taco, the Craggle, and the think tank, as well as a battery to strap Emmett to, and the set for Where Are My Pants. And while the set itself didn't come with the Where Are My Pants guy, I still managed to get him, and I think it really completes the set. But as great as it is, it still has some things that it didn't include, namely the very highest floor that detaches from the rest of the building. And although it made sense to not include this area in the set, it still would be a perfect inclusion for my set, as it hovered right above Bricksburg and released thousands of Micromanagers. So obviously I modeled it after a 2x2 brick and just made it scaled up a bit, just like in the movie, and although I didn't give it a full interior, I did make a play feature where you can put a small Micromanager inside of it and then drop it out, just like you see in the movie. The way it works is by opening it up with these hinges and then attaching the Micromanager to this Technic axle. Then you shut it again using these clips to lock it, and when you want to drop the Micromanager, you simply pull the Technic pin out and gravity will do its thing. Finally, we return to Bricksburg, as when Emmett sacrificed himself, the Master Builders escaped from the think tank and went to fight Lord Business. But before that, Wildstyle found a pair of pants and then told the entire universe about how they could build things with their own surroundings, and people in every world began to do just that. So I wanted to include one of these creations in my own set, so to get inspiration, I bought a couple of the ones that LEGO made. Once again, this is purely a business expense. The first one I got is the set of a saloon which has been remodeled into a plane. It includes a Micromanager and a kebab stand which has been turned into a hovercraft. The other set I got is a garbage truck which has been turned into a flying mouth which eats Micromanagers, but unfortunately the chomping feature doesn't work super consistently. This may be because I got it used or just because the play feature is slightly flimsy, but either way I want to make my own build of something that has been transformed, and what better thing to transform than an Octan gas station. I first made a small build that can connect to the coffee shop with some assorted drinks, snacks, and food inside, as well as the Octan logo outside, and then I added some pins sticking out to show that the actual gas station was missing. The vehicle that I made is the small flying vehicle, which is pretty similar to a Y-Wing from Star Wars, and it has several different Octan inspired details, such as the tanks on the sides and the nozzles being used as missiles. One of the last things that I did to really flesh out the city of Bricksburg was adding a bunch of different billboards across the buildings. The biggest one being this advertisement for Where Are My Pants, which I think turned out really well. It just utilizes some 6x6 tiles and some different assorted white pieces, and then I also made a Taco Tuesday billboard as well as some different propaganda pieces for President Business and Octan. For one final detail that I really like, I made this stand where all the main characters can be displayed, and it includes a 2x4 tile with the LEGO Movie logo on it, as well as a 2x6 tile with a quote from Emmett. So here's the set all together, and here's the box art that I made, which was meant to be a merging of both the 18+ box art style from recent years, as well as the original LEGO Movie box art that is so nostalgic for myself and many other fans. So real quick before I finish the video, I now haven't uploaded in almost 3 months now, which is crazy. crazy. I don't think I've gone that long without uploading. I've been really busy, but I still have been working on videos, and I'm gonna try to get back to more regular uploads for the rest of the year, at least monthly, if not bi-weekly. And the next video should be Invincible in the next couple weeks, because I want to get that out for part 2 of season 2, and then after that I still want to get out the 2024 Marvel sets. I didn't manage to finish that video, but it will still be coming out, so stay tuned for that. But anyway, comment below if you have any more ideas for videos you want to see from me, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great day and go build something awesome.